Thanks very much, Stuart. And in 1994, when I went into government under President Mandela to become the Minister of Reconstruction and Development, we also had very noble intentions. And if noble intentions alone could deliver the better life we want, a world free of poverty, unemployment, of malnutrition and hunger, it would be the most wonderful gift we can give. But we live in the real world. And the question is, why are we all here? We're here because we care. We have the science, the technology, we have the expertise, we have the intellectual capital in this room to solve our problems. Yet, decades after we started to discuss it, we still have 1 billion people who are chronically food insecure. We have 1 billion people that are micronutrient deficient, and we have 1 billion people that are obese. That's almost half of humanity. So what do we have? Not just a global problem, we have a global emergency. And we need to act according to that. If I recollect what we did when we faced the issue of an AIDS epidemic, or we faced the issue of odious debt in Africa, or we faced an environmental crisis, what did we have? We had leadership from the top, but really what changed the game was the demand from the bottom. It was the pressure from the bottom. It was those millions of people, like in the streets of Cairo or in the streets of South Africa in the 80s, that demanded accountability. And I think if we look across us here, we have incredible intellectual content and talent here, but there's an element that is not fully represented. And those are the grassroots movements that really represent the people that we are trying to address. The women's organizations, the youth organizations, the student organizations. And I think that's what I want to talk about, theory of change. And, because what do we know today? The system is broken. Today, the speculators that nearly brought the global economy to a crisis through speculation and profiteering are now setting up the Ponzi schemes for the food sector. And we have to recognize that. The question is, what do we do about that? And in a sense, I can remember going into government, and I was from the trade union movement. And Mandela said to me, well, you've organized millions of people to go out and strike. Now can you find a way to work with all these sectors, including the private sector, that makes us deliver what we have promised our people in South Africa, a better life? And so I think the important thing that I want to make is that there's leadership from the top, which is fully represented here, but there's the demand and leadership from the ground that we need to build that value chain across. And so there is something systemically wrong with what we have to deal with in the food area. That food prices will continue to rise. In real terms, 50 to 100% over the next 40 years. That the population growth is going to reach 9 billion. And that no matter what we do to improve agricultural productivity, we're still going to have a problem. So we have to deal with the issue of waste. And we've addressed this as a critical part of the value chain. And we have to deal with the issue of water. 70% of water is spent in agriculture. Yet, we know 50% is lost. We have to deal with Africa, where it's clear. But having the last tracts of arable land, there's a land grab taking place in Africa by countries from outside of Africa, when we have our own problems. So the critical issue, what's the delivery science that we need to do? What do we need to bring ideas, money, and the vision, a la Swaminathan, to look at that value chain? And I think that one of the things I've learned as the chair of GAIN is that we have to look at the PPP, as I call it, the politics, the people, and the partnership. And so the fact of the matter that we can today have built a model that delivers in over 25 countries new products that meet the needs of people close to 400 million people, that gives them access to new products, means we've got to understand how we build that coalition. What are the partners that have specific capabilities and understanding and of the different parts of this value chain, and how do we work across that value chain, and understanding the weaknesses and strengths of each partner. For example, this morning I heard that 4% of the agricultural technologies that we already have are being adopted at a grassroots level. How do we increase and scale that? And I think that the important thing is the model. How do we look at the model? How do we take the R&D that exists out here in companies, in universities, in the IFPRIs of this world? How do we look at innovative finance that is able to crowd in the type of finance that is required to be able to get these products and down to a level that is at a grassroots level? How do we look at M&E, monitoring and evaluation? As part of what we do at GAIN is that we use 10% of every project has to go to M&E. And critically, how do we build alignment between the different parts of the value chain? So I think the final point I want to make, the key discussion we should have here is about accountability. Accountability from our governments, accountability from the private sector, accountability from donors, and accountability from communities themselves to change social behavior so that we are building better nutrition that improves health of our next generation. Thank you.